Today on Oklahoma Gardening, we're visiting one of our OBGA affiliate gardens, Lendonwood Gardens, here in Grove, Oklahoma. And we thought we'd come over here in the middle of April and see what all plants are giving a good display of color. Right here we've got Dr. Leonard Miller. Hello, Leonard.
Hi, Steve.
Welcome back to the program.
Well, welcome to Lendonwood Gardens.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, Leonard, what all have we got going on here in the garden this time of the year?
Well, the middle of April here, we have some azaleas that are beginning to bloom, and a lot of perennials are now beginning to show some color. And we have a lot of beautiful flowering shrubs. And then our trees, magnolias last month, and now the Japanese maples.
Okay, well, let's go take a look at some of these colorful plants.
All right.
Well, Leonard, the Japanese maples certainly do have a wide variety of shapes and leaf colors and plant forms and things like that. And you have a number of these here. How many Japanese maples do you have here at Lendonwood?
Steve, we have about 75 varieties, but there are over 350 available cultivars that you can buy on the market. So we just have about a third that's available.
Just a third of all that's available.
Right.
That's a good number. The leaf shapes of the Japanese maples are so different. Can you explain a little bit about some of those?
They're basically just two leaf types. One is a small hand shape of the leaf, and the other one is a very thin leafed one called dissectum. And so those are the two major ones, but in those two types are all sizes, from the as big as the palmatums is 12 inches across to the tiny ruby lace that's just thread-like.
Okay, I've heard those called thread leaf before, so that's just another term
Right.
for the dissectum.
Right.
Okay, and we've got an example of a thread leaf right here.
Yes, that's orangeola, and it's growing well in the Dallas area. It's obviously a red this time of year, and that's what's attracted people to these plants of the various colors, you know, the different colors that are available to the gardener. We have the red, and then the green, and we even have an example of white and the yellow ones.
So sort of some variegated leaves.
Yes, now this is a upright dissectum. Now most dissectums are drooping or cascading forms. Here we have a flower that you see, the little red flower, and that forms a seed later on in the fall we call a samara.
A little winged seed.
Yes, it is, and samara is one of my favorite words.
Okay, so this one is unique in that it's green and it's the dissectum type, and that it's a more upright.
That's right.
maple.
Sarayu is the name of this variety.
Okay.
And it is quite a large tree. We have a couple of them. You can see they're quite large.
All right, and you get really good contrast with the flowers, those red flowers with the green leaves.
And if you plant it next to a red upright variety, then you get another contrast.
Additional contrast. Leonard, right here we've got a neat little shrub with nice little white bell-shaped flowers. What have we got in this plant?
This is a Pyrus japonica, beautiful white flowers in this early spring. Then it has red new growth that eventually turns to green. And this is an evergreen plant that's hardy in this area. Really, if you're building a Japanese garden, this is one you'd want to have.
It does have that really nice oriental effect, and it has a little bit of fragrance also. Very nice.
Beautiful spring shrub.
Okay. Well, Leonard, we've looked at some Japanese maples with green leaves and some with red leaves, but I see one here in the back with sort of golden foliage. Which variety is that one?
That variety is Acer palmatum katsura. And Steve, that is a vigorous, big, large growing maple. that really offers quite a contrast to the fire glow in the background there that stays red better than say bloodgood.
Okay, so I know a lot of people have probably noticed that a lot of the red leaf Japanese maples tend to green up as our summers start to warm up a bit, but you're saying this one stays red longer.
There are two that are now on the market, Emperor 1 and Fire Glow, that seems to hold the color better. If you're looking for those plants, you may want to go in July to look at the foliage before you buy it.
That's a good idea. See if it is hanging onto that color. Well, that gold one does provide a good contrast with the red foliage, and it just seems to really stand out in the garden right now with all the green foliage around it.
Very different, and I think these are going to be more popular because of that contrasting color.
Well, this is a very unique cultivar of Japanese maple. Leonard, which one is this?
That's Butterfly. In the spring it has this beautiful pink tone to the white, and the pink usually dissipates as the heat comes on. The leaf develops into a white and green. But in the early spring, it's really almost shrimp color.
Like a three-colored foliage maple, huh?
Yes, probably the most unique foliage Acer palmatum we have.
Now, Leonard, on these all green portions of the plant, what's the story on those? Do we need to cut those out to make sure we retain that variegation, or what?
I recommend that you tie a string around that and check and see if next year if that variegation comes back there, or if it doesn't, then go ahead and cut it out after 2 years.
Okay, so you may have green leaves one year, and the next year may be variegated.
In this particular plant, it's highly variable.
Okay, all right. Well, Leonard, I have never seen a Japanese maple grow in this shape or this form. What have we got going on here?
Well, this is Justice seedling, a green Japanese maple, Acer palmatum, and I've decided to control the growth through pruning. And 3 times a year, I use a pair of scissors and I clip the new growth or any growth that goes beyond the form that I want. And in Japanese gardening, this is called a floating cloud.
Floating
yeah,
cloud.
it's just a cloud shape, and it's a nice form, but this is a tree shaped into a shrub.
Okay, so you've sheared the plant.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a great look to it.
Yeah, kind of interesting. Okay. Well, Leonard, these Japanese maples certainly have beautiful color here in the springtime with the different colors of the foliage when they first break bud. But what about the rest of the year? What kind of color can we expect from our Japanese maples?
Well, some varieties do retain their red color. Some of them then fade to a green. But in the fall, around the 1st of November, here at Lendonwood, we have beautiful fall foliage from these plants, and then in the wintertime we also have bark that actually change color into bright red ones.
Okay, so some of the better Japanese maples for fall color would be which ones?
Well, this one is well known. It's Okagami, but most of the red varieties would fade to a green and then back to a red again in the fall. And then the green forms tend to go to the yellows and sometimes highlighted with reds. So that's usually the way it goes for the maples. And but you have to wait until the days get real short.
Okay, and a good variety for some of that golden color would be?
Well, Sangokaku, the coral bark maple that has that red bark in the wintertime, is a wonderful yellow in the fall.
Okay, and this one right up here, which variety is this?
That one's Osaka Suki, and it's often planted with Okagami here which is just a wonderful specimen, which has red. So you have the red and the yellow.
Okay, so this one is more of a yellow fall color Japanese maple. Green leaves in the
Green leaves
summertime.
tend to turn yellow in the fall.
Okay. Well, Leonard, I can't help noticing this beautiful dogwood you've got in bloom here. You've got a little story about this one.
Yes, this is a seedling that was seeds that were collected down in Tahlequah. Raised over 200 of these seeds at Wichita at the Kansas State Experimental Station, and 23 below one winter. This one after that bloomed, and so they named this cultivar Ozark Spring, and it is now production, and you can buy this plant. And Sue Gray and I actually planted this tree on Oklahoma Gardening about 7 years ago. So you can kind of see the result that we received, and certainly it's beautifully sited here with some afternoon shade.
Well, I definitely think you guys did a good job planting this dogwood.
Steve, we might talk a little bit about the exposure of Japanese maples and even dogwoods in areas where you're a little bit drier climate. Also, where you have high winds, you'd want to protect those plants. The maple's leaves do desiccate fairly fast. So on the east or north side of your house, or underneath dapple shade, protected from the harsh winds. And if you're in even more harsh climates, you may want to stay with a dwarf variety that will be then not grow beyond your house frame, so that it stays protected.
Okay, so it doesn't get tall enough to peek over the roof and get some of that hot southwestern wind causing those leaves to scorch.
Yeah, dwarf variety is perfect for harsh climates, and they're just as tough as the big ones.
And just every bit as showy.
Yes, all right.
Well, Leonard, here's another one of those pyrus, a little bit taller than the other one we looked at. Which variety do we have here?
That one is called Redhead and seems to be more adaptable to our climate. Doesn't have the red new growth that we mentioned too before, but this variety seems to be hardier, and I think it's probably more adaptable to the Oklahoma climate. Still has the real pretty pendulum bell flowers.
And also that nice fragrance. Well, I saw a dwarf variety in another part of your garden. Which one is that one?
That one's called Prelude, and for someone who has a shady spot that requires a small shrub, that would be the selection.
Okay, and these are going to like more of the acidic soil conditions, well amended, well drained soils like that.
Yes, probably you want to add a little peat moss to the mix, and then heavily you would use some pine bark maybe to mulch it.
Okay,
to get
help
that acidity.
Get some acidity going there.
Yeah.
Leonard, with the botanical name of Japanese maples being Acer palmatum, I totally understand that okay, but sometimes I see Japanese maples listed as Acer japonicum, and I notice you've got one right here. So could you maybe explain the difference between Acer palmatum and Acer japonicum?
Well, palmatum are varieties that are garden orientated. They actually probably occurred in a garden. But japonicum are some trees that are actually in the mountains of Japan, and they're selected out for superior form and then brought into the garden and propagated for particularly unusual leaf shapes. You can see this one is quite unusual, and also for beautiful fall color. So we see reds and yellows in this variety that are probably kind of unique.
Okay, so if it's a wild selected variety, it usually has this
Japonicum.
specific epithet of Japonicum. If it's a cultivated selection, Acer palmatum.
Correct.
Well, April is the month that viburnums start blooming around Oklahoma, and I noticed that, Leonard, you've got quite a collection of viburnums here in your garden as well. Which one do we have here?
That's a USDA selection that they introduced called Cayuga. It's the Korean spice bush. This variety has larger flowers and thus more fragrance, and just an outstanding a shrub that has a great shape and great fragrance.
Beautiful rounded habit. Right back here I see a shrub that we could probably include in one of our theme gardens this year. We're having a theme garden of plants with green flowers, and these are definitely got that color going right now, but these won't stay this way, is that right?
No, that's the tomatosa type. The flowers appear along a horizontal stem, and these flowers will turn white. But this is probably my favorite viburnum of the 25 that we have here at Lendonwood. What I like about this plant is the wonderful crinkly foliage. The foliage is just spectacular all year long.
Those are neat leaves. Well, right over here we've got a large viburnum that also has sort of greenish flowers starting out, but later turn white also. This is the leatherleaf viburnum, and got a nice specimen here, Leonard.
Yeah, this variety has this real leather-like foliage, and then this really spectacular flowers. This is becoming really popular, but you can see it requires a pretty good space.
A lot of room.
There's actually a dwarfer variety, but there again, it's growing pretty large.
Okay, I've seen these leatherleaf viburnums pruned into small trees before. I think they work very well used that way.
The hardiness is somewhat questionable in severe winters, so you may lose the plant if you're in zone 5.
Okay. Well, Leonard, I recognize this viburnum because we've got one there at our studio, and I just love the fragrance of this. What can you tell us about this viburnum?
Well, as you mentioned, it's a little pinker. You can see it has a little pinkish tone to the flower. The foliage is a little dull color, where the Burkwoodii, which is very similar, has a shinier foliage. But this is very similar and gives you that great fragrance in the garden.
Beautiful fragrance. Well, I see a perennial over here that you don't see just in every garden, but I notice you've got a few around here. Little yellow flowers. What have we got here, Leonard?
That's an epimedium. It's a ground cover, but it's not too vigorous, so it's an excellent ground cover. Has this reddish new heart-shaped leaf in the spring, and these yellow flowers, and likes a shady, moist condition.
Okay. I think another name for this is barrenwort. They come in a few other colors, but this yellow is certainly attractive.
Very dainty, small flowers, and early spring flowering.
Very interesting. Well, of course, Lendonwood Gardens is known for its rhododendrons, and we've got a few of those starting to bloom right now. And Leonard, can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Well, that's a hybrid. Actually, we call it a seedling. It has not been introduced. It is not propagated. It's a one-of-a-kind plant, and we have about 60 of these seedlings here in the garden. We have about 500 rhododendrons, so there's 375 varieties, It's one of the largest collections of rhododendrons in the Midwest, and we are right on the beginning of the flowering season for rhododendrons. So
Okay.
we're real excited about them. We have lots of flowers to show this spring.
Okay, and Leonard, you are a member of the American Rhododendron Society, and you also hold an office, isn't that correct?
Yes, I'm the vice president of the American Rhododendron Society, and the first person from the Midwest to hold that position, and that's because we are actually very successful with growing rhododendrons that are heat tolerant here in Oklahoma. And if you'd like to know more about rhododendrons, you can go to ars.org and look at our site. And also Lendonwood has a site, lendonwood.org.
Okay.
So you can find out about our plant collection here at Lendonwood, and also how to join the American Rhododendron Society. We actually have a chapter that meets in Tulsa this spring.
Okay. Well, we're very proud of you, Leonard, to be holding that office. And in 2 years, you'll be president. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the plan. It takes 4 years as vice president, but you spend some 20 years on the ladder coming up. So
You definitely earned it.
yeah, you hope to reach it in good health.
Well, all right. Well, here at Lendonwood Gardens in Grove, Oklahoma, folks can come out 7 days a week. through
That's
the
right.
gardens.
We're open during daylight hours. We're just about a mile from downtown, easily accessible, and we ask you for a $5 donation. And the garden is designed so that we have flowering all season long. So come out and see it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the tour.
All right.
Always enjoy coming over here.